comedy series Too Much.
Yeah!
Lena Dunham's return to television tells the story of Jessica, played by the amazing Meg Stalter, who is a New York workaholic in her mid-30s, reeling from a broken relationship. I have a lot more intro to go. Should I do the whole intro? You guys don't need the whole intro. You know what the show's about. How many people have seen the show?
Yeah!
What am I explaining it to you for? Okay, I have an order of who I'm supposed to introduce. Let's hear it for...
Pictures of me, I see.
Will Sharpe is here, star Will Sharpe.
Yeah!
Flew in just for the day.
Hi.
Also here is creator, actor, the great Lena Dunham, everybody.
Thank you, Dudley.
And also the executive producer and creator, Felber, is here for your enjoyment. I'm not sure why I'm yelling so much. I feel like it's really squirrel. And I'm screaming.
Well, I'll share this mic with you. Oh,
We share everything, but we go.
okay, great.
There we go. Hello, everyone.
Judd, thank you so much for doing this.
You know
It really
what?
means the world.
I'm so available. You know, I've got so many panels to do. No, I love a good panel. This is a solid panel. I was excited to do, and let's just jump into it. This is like your return to television, but you've done more television since Girls. This isn't really the return to television.
Have you ever noticed that anytime someone makes anything, people like to say that it's their return from something? And every time an actress is on the cover of a magazine, they're like so-and-so finally speaks her mind.
Yeah.
And then in 3 years, she's going to finally speak her mind about it again. And it's the same with returning to television. So I guess I'm just going to keep on returning to
Keep returning. Well, because TV's so confusing now. There's movies, there's TV shows. What is returning to what medium?
But to be fair, I mean, I hadn't created a show or been co-created a show. I hadn't done that part of the job since we did Girls.
And what was the spark that led to this? Louis, do you want to speak to how this all came about?
Well, one day I was dating my pretty new girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, 2
and
weeks.
Now my wife. 2 weeks. I mean, we can say 2 weeks. I think it's more exciting that way. And Lena was just like, "Hey, would you want to make a TV show?"
Well, I think I know that it's really hard, so I don't think I said, would you want to make one? Because there's a lot of steps you have to get to before that.
Sure.
But I think I said, would you want to riff on an idea?
I think you said, would you be interested in making a TV show?
You can tell it that way. If I get to say 2 weeks and you get to say that.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that a form of courting?
It's funny because I'd
That's a
had
great
an
question.
idea about, just because I've been spending a lot of time in the UK for work, and I had just noticed how you think you're going to a country where you speak the same language as everybody else,
No.
and then it's extremely clear once you arrive that you do not. And there's that, I think, was it Winston Churchill who said 2 countries divided by a common language? Like, it's just completely confounding to say words that you know another person understands literally, but not figuratively. And it was happening in every area of my life, and it was the first time in my life, also as an adult, where I'd gone like, I don't really have any like I haven't felt this way since 7th grade. Like, I don't really have any friends. Like, people look at me weird. I keep saying things that make people walk away from me at parties. Like, what is this? But I didn't know what the story was. And then once I met Luis and we started a relationship, and I had to think about those mistranslations in the context of a romantic relationship, and also all of the great kind of transatlantic romantic comedies, whether it's Notting Hill or French Kiss or Four Weddings and a Funeral, and I thought maybe there would be something there, and that he would want to think about it together.
Yeah, and we spoke about sort of stylistically making something about 2 misfits, like with baggage in their 30s, and I hadn't seen anything like that, and I think we referenced movies like Truth About Cats and Dogs and Reality Bites, like just to see these sort of and make it very London and American. The music was like a big part of it because we were sending each other a lot of playlists, and you know, I love the idea of seeing London with like an Americana sort of soundtrack. I thought that was interesting.
What was interesting was I rewatched a lot of romantic comedies, great romantic comedies, and all of the ones that I watched when I was young where I thought, that woman is so old, she better get married soon. Or like, it seems like it's been pretty rough out there for her not looking like everybody else. And you realize they're all like 27-year-olds in miniskirts who are just like, oh my God, they're gonna be sending me off on an iceberg soon. And you don't have anything that says you can be a complicated person with a complicated past. And like my joke is always like, whenever someone's like, it's been so hard, I'm like, if I can find a husband, anyone can.
And then Meg,
Yes,
how are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for doing this and having us here today.
Yeah,
I'm being on my best behavior.
I know.
I'm not going to be crazy today.
Well, I knew that Meg, when I was wanting to work with Meg, I asked Judd, because Judd had already worked with her, and he went, he has a specific voice. Like sometimes you say something, he was like, yeah, that could be cool. And I've learned to decode Judd over the years. And he's like, and when I mentioned you, he was just like, she's the fucking best. Like, and there's a tone you use when you were like, when you were like, you said something like, she just goes so hard. And I just knew like it had the stamp of approval.
Thank you for saying that, because it could cost me a job.
That's right. We did the Please Don't Destroy film. And we had many lunches at
We ate lobster
Capitol Grill.
together, but now I know that you shouldn't eat lobsters because
They're like people.
Yeah, but I didn't know that when you kept buying me the lobster.
Yeah.
But now I do, so.
I was trying to be fancy.
Yeah, we were
You
having.
didn't know they were sentient.
Also, like, Judd bought you lobster. Judd once had us pick up our snacks somewhere else than the movie theater because they were less expensive. He bought you lobster?
We were getting surf and turf.
There was only one good restaurant in North
but it's
Carolina.
really fancy.
And it was fancy, so.
But that's where we ate all the time. The fanciest place.
But so how is it for you to like...
I know that he's gonna get you, you're gonna get her lobster.
Too late for that. Too late for that. Because now we can't eat it because they were like people.
But now we can't eat them, so yeah. I don't
You
even
can't have
say anymore.
octopus.
She's not judging.
But so how is it for you to like step into this kind of part with Lena, knowing Lena's background writing characters like this, and how did you guys collaborate on creating something all your own?
Well, I mean, I am the biggest Lena fan and the biggest girls fan, and girls. I'm gay, but I'm the biggest girls fan, and so I just couldn't believe she wanted me in what she was making, and I just wanted to do whatever she was gonna tell me to do, and so I was so excited, and I think we clicked right away, and I just felt like I was talking to myself or my sister or something, and I felt like everything was so natural because I just have so much fun with Lena, to the point where I felt like sometimes I was having so much fun on set that somebody'd have to be like, okay, you gotta go be in your spot, because I was trying to laugh with her so much.
Did a blown really nice laughs.
Lou, how is it like to define the character, to decide how to create this person? Because it's such a unique character in a rom-com like this.
I mean, I don't know. I think it just started with like conversations with Lena, and then it sort of developed into this character with aspects of like people I know and myself. The only thing that really ties it to me was the songs that Will and I spent a bit of time, in a room, sort of learning them on guitar and singing them, and then Will took them away and made them his own. And that was like a big seed for it. But I think the character lives within a version of London that I know really well. And once Will appeared, he took it to this whole other trajectory and level that just was beautiful to watch.
And boy, did he appear.
Will, what was it for you to kind of create this part? Because it's charming, it's self-destructive, it's vulnerable, it's witty. It's like it really surprises you, what he turns out to be. And what was that process like for you working that out with them?
I mean, I guess like at the very beginning, Lena and I went for tea, and she kind of talked through the shape of the series and who our characters were. And I guess one of the things that I was really drawn to was that, like Lou says, this idea that they're kind of imperfect. I mean, who's perfect? But you know, that there was stuff to discover about them and things from their past that like get in the way of their present day relationship. So that was all just like quite exciting to use, I guess. But it was also quite fun kind of knowing as a person that like this is a romantic comedy, like a Lena Dunham's version of a romantic comedy, but the character has no idea that
It's
he's
a
in
romantic comedy with ketamine.
Yeah. So just like in any scene is kind of like, well, he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So just play it like, you know, what's he thinking? You know what I mean? Like.
And what was it like when you guys were working together? And I assume with Meg, there's some improvisation. And like, what was your approach?
Working with me?
Yeah.
It was.
What was the shooting approach in terms of that?
You know, like the scripts were so tight that there was not really any need for it. But Meg is so good at improvising, and you're so confident, I think, in like the shape of the show and kind of what each scene is, that there was also bandwidth to kind of play around with it a bit. And I found that really fun and surprising. And sometimes like a scene that maybe you thought would be like a sad scene would end up being really funny, or vice versa, you know. So that was cool, like just to, I guess, like bring a little bit of realism to it or something.
It was also sort of fun because in the show, like you could, neither of them, it's fun to do a relationship where no one is the straight man. Like both of you are total weirdos, and at any given point, one of you's acting weird and one of you's not, and sometimes both of you are. And so it's fun to like go of that idea that one person kind of has to like be the metronome while the other one goes wild. And also, even though, you know, I mean, Will's done comedy, Will's done drama, Will is an extremely accomplished writer-director in his own right. And also, though, you have like, I feel like there's this bone you have from like doing, you did sketch comedy. You started out doing sketch and doing, I guess maybe you did, weren't you a prop comic?
I've been known to use props, but I'm not exclusively.
You were a prop comic.
He was a bit Gallagher in his youth. And so you...
That's all been scrubbed from the internet.
And so he also like brought it really hard. And he would bring tons of props, really distracting props.
I also like, I guess because people who are interested in comedy or like are in any way a comedian, a lot of the time that you spend together, like in the makeup truck or whatever, there's bits going on, like, and so sometimes then we'd arrive in the scene, and actually that would be the most sincere exchange we'd have all day. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I also like that we didn't over rehearse at the beginning, because that meant we met each other and felt, you know, made sure we all felt safe in each other's company, and I did, and that's like, I think like a big part of the success of any cast or kind of any dynamic working out is when you feel safe being vulnerable with the other person. But yeah, it meant that like on screen we were also to a degree kind of meeting each other, which I don't know, added something maybe to some of the earlier scenes. What
were you trying to talk about in terms of exploring love and these types of relationships? Because when we were doing Girls, it was all the relationships were so demented. and in this, it's beautiful, and you're behind it. And so, was that different for you to think like about what is good in relationships versus the semi-abusive girls relationship?
It should be known. I know every time someone's like, Adam and Hannah ship it, I'm like, that's fully toxic nightmare. And in one episode, he like literally sexually assaults another woman, and everyone was like, go girls, get him. And I was like, this is so crazy. I guess we just have to let it ride out to the end. But also it's a testament to like the fact that we are all in complex relationships that have a lot of shades and shadows. And I think like that's not even I guess what I'm saying is that thinking about that writing that Hannah and Adam relationship at the time, it did feel like writing a love story to me. A lot of the things that it was the only kind of love story I'd ever really known. And a lot of the most romantic moments were things that actually I have to say that Judd added, where he was like, it can't exclusively be him like ripping rooms apart and like throwing things out windows. But my experience that thus far had been loving people who weren't that kind to me, and maybe because I wasn't very kind to myself, and I told myself a lot of stories to keep myself in those positions, and I don't think that's unusual. I don't think it's specific to women. I think people of all genders just want to be loved. Everyone wants to be loved, and I think what was fun about doing this was that both of them have really, at times, and you see them still do it in the series, have really hurt and demeaned and degraded themselves, and probably hurt and demeaned other people through their lack of sense of their own worth. Like, they don't think they're important enough that they could have an effect on the people around them. And so what does it look like when those two people meet each other and go, oh, I'd really love to try to do what people do and be together? And the oftentimes in a romantic comedy, it's like, there's a meddling mom and she's keeping them apart, or they live in different countries. But like, really here, the threat was like, are either of them going to implode to a degree where they cannot come back from it? And something I loved working with both of them, but one of the things that made me go in my first conversation with Will, like, it must be him, there can be no one else, is that he said there were certain things we had written that then we pulled back on because people went like, well, no one's ever going to want them to be together in the end if she sleeps with someone else, or if he relapses, and Will was like, take it as far as it can go. And then, like, the most beautiful thing is people who can love each other after all of that. But Luz never cheated on me.
I made sure that he didn't when we started.
Meg did a background check.
What was it like working with all these different actors and actresses who were coming into the show, some legends on the show? How was that for you?
I thought it was just like all my dreams coming true. I mean, when I found out she was gonna play my sister, like I could barely focus in the scene with you because I was just so in awe of you and being like, I can't believe I'm in a show that you wrote and you're in the scene with me and you're directing it. Because I just, again, like, Girls is the best show in the whole world. And so is this. So I just, and we had just the craziest guests. Like, you got to spend time with so many people that have been a fan of.
Interesting is when we were doing Girls, there was still a lot of snobbery around TV. Like, it was still, it was the idea that TV was becoming an art form, but there was a certain level of actor where everyone would just go, oh, they don't do TV. They're not gonna do TV. There's no way they'll do TV. And as Girls went on, it was kind of amazing to us that we could get certain people to come, but there was still like a kind of, that's a film actor. Are you joking? And in the time since then, TV has become, people are just hungry for great parts that don't feel like they are underbaked or written for an algorithm. And so it was just amazing how many people were down to clown and wanted to come and play for a few days, and also it was also a testament to Will and Meg because everyone wanted to be in scenes with them.
Well, the Richard E. Grant, Naomi Watts, that is so funny. Did you enjoy doing that with Richard E. Grant? I mean, for me, because like with Neil and I think it was one of the most formative things I'd ever seen.
Oh my God.
To see, I was just thinking about you working with him. Like,
he was the one on Girls where we were like, we cannot. You came to New York to be on set when he was on Girls because you couldn't believe that he was coming.
Yeah, I mean, it was very surreal because I love With Nell and I, and he's really strong. He like probably was like fighting me.
No, he basically was like permission to go for it.
Yeah, and I was
you
like,
are
please
such
do.
a
Yeah.
masochist that you're like, go for it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I could be like, should I be stopping this?
And it was, he really went for it. So it's still kind of a little bit out of body.
Let's just say
And
if it
then-
had been a sex scene, I would have called cut.
You would But then what was funny was it was just like he was just in this zone in a very electric way, and then the next day we needed to pick up like a little piece of it, just like the tail end of the fight, and he was sort of getting into position on top of me, and I could see that he was like, how did we end up here?
Because he literally just needed to get one line while he's straddling your chest, and the chest straddling was not scripted. So it was the question was, how did we
This is how I
arrive in
was
this
sitting. It was
place?
like, yes, mate, it was sat on my
That's so fun too, because a lot of my favorite things in that episode are improvs between Richard and Naomi. And Naomi Watts is so, I remember, I mean, I knew she was funny because there's this movie Ellie Parker that she was in early in her career that is so great, about a working kind of jobbing actress that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And then, she's such a powerful performer that she's not, that I think sometimes when you're that good, comedy's not the first place that people ask you to come. She is so funny, and she was improvising. So there's a part, and I couldn't keep it, and I'm still so sad about it, where she was snorting the cocaine, and she looks in the mirror and goes, "Check the gate." And I thought, like, this woman is a genius.
We know she said that before. So. You can't improvise something like that. That's your go-to line.
Or she's seen someone do it at a party. Let's go and she's seen someone do it at a party.
And talk about how you wrote the music and worked on the music, because that must have been so fun to try to find a way to integrate that throughout. It must have been a dream for you to have both this writing, but also music. It's everything that you're
It
into.
was like a mixture of being in Synecdoche, New York, and Curb Your Enthusiasm, like every day, and also your soundtracking it and scoring it. Yeah, it was so fun.
Well, it was really cool because we were sort of like, whatever level of singer he is, we're just gonna figure it out. It'll be great. Like he can be more of like a style singer or more of a substance singer, and then he was supposed to send us a voice memo of just him singing a song, and you chose "I'm Your Lady," correct?
yeah, Jennifer Rush.
Yeah, Jennifer Rush's "I'm Your Lady," and it was on the piano, and I did it, and I just started to sob because he had the most beautiful voice, and I was like, he sounds like when I was obsessed with Bright Eyes and followed them around on tour. Like, he was so lovely, and also so, like, he's playing the guitar, he insisted on doing a lot of it live, which sound department found irritating, but we found exciting. And
it was so exciting. I mean, we built like a little rehearsal studio because, like being with comedy actors and finding your rhythm.
Yeah.
It's kind of about being in a band is sort of just hanging out and waiting around for things to happen. So we built this little place where Prasanna could practice his drums. He'd never played drums before.
Yeah.
He got really good towards the end. And we had Carlos from that band Fontaines DC playing bass. And then we were just sort of, rehearsing this band like whenever we had time off. And yeah, it was like being in the band. It was super fun.
It was those scenes were really fun to do, and I really enjoyed like getting to learn to do songs. But also it's interesting like having that as a part of a character, like to be able to use it to be like, but this is also some of who he is, which you don't always have.
We also showed the joy, like you had the very smart idea of showing a rehearsal, because when you're an indie musician, going to the job centre, playing gigs where your audience are basically pigs and kids in a farm, you had the idea of showing them having a joyful time in a rehearsal, and I love that, yeah.
Also, what you don't know is that when you were like, can you send me a song? I was like, oh my God, what song do I send Lena? And there are probably like 4 or 5 other takes of tracks where I was like, I can't send her the National. She'll think that's like dirge for men children. And she's like, maybe this is the one. Like, this is the one that
I love the National. But by the way, you picked the perfect one because it got me. Also, whenever men sing like a song from a woman's perspective, it really fucks me up for whatever reason. Like, and so you really hit it right where it needed to be. But I would have, for the record, if you'd sung the National, I would have gone. Yeah.
You've been okay.
Meg, this is it's a really challenging piece of acting, and it's really vulnerable. Was this like the most ambitious piece of acting that you've had to do?
Yes, definitely. I felt like what helped me was, I know I keep talking about Lena, but I think feeling so connected to the person that wrote it and is directing it helps me a lot, because if I, in a scene, am struggling to like find something, then I feel like I would just go ask her a question about it, and then I'd be like sobbing in the scene or something. But yeah, I think that I couldn't have done it without her.
Thank you, my queen. I mean, it was really exciting we've gotten to see Meg be so funny and in so many different ways, and there's always a vulnerability to the characters that she plays, and that's what's so amusing about them and makes people connect even to when she posts 30 seconds of something. And also Will's done some really amazing, very dramatic work. I recommend everybody watch Yuri Hashi if you haven't seen it yet. It's really beautiful. It was exciting to see Meg push herself to places that she maybe hadn't gotten to go, and then realize that, like, at first you realizing you could do it, and then you realizing how in control of it you were, and how you could really that you were just very like in command of the instrument, and you could dial it up, you could dial it down, and it was a real joy to watch that happen. And we didn't, it was cool because we shot some stuff with Meg without Will, then we shot some stuff with Will without Meg, and then they finally were in scenes together, and they were amazing in their scenes alone. But when you never know until that moment that people are first on screen together what is and isn't going to work. And it was just clear from the first take that I love when I watch people have respect for the way another person works and not try to force their mode on someone else. And they, like, you letting Meg do it Meg's way, Meg letting Will do it Will's way, and then the thing that comes out of that. And I mean, I think I say this all the time, Judd, but like everything that I know about making TV is stuff that you taught me, and everything I really know about being on the first real set I ever went on was when you invited me to come visit you on the Bridesmaid set, and I was so hungover that I threw up in your trailer. But don't worry, guys, I haven't had a drink in 8 years. But I was, thank you for the snaps actually. You're a miracle king. And then I got to be on set in This Is 40 because even though I'm only in 2 scenes, I somehow shot for like 31 days, and because that's the Judd Apatow way. And so getting to watch you work, and then also you teaching me how to, every time I confronted a problem in the process, it was you, basically the biggest thing you always taught me was like to have the confidence to not hold on to something too tightly. And you were like, ultimately, it's yours, so let people go out, let people try things. A good idea can come from anywhere, and like reminding me that it can be a free and joyful process. All that comes from you.
Well, so much of it is the balance of the comedy and the drama, which is, it's probably the most complicated part of it because there is no rule. It's just one person's gut of have we gone too far in either direction. And so you guys have so many scenes together, and they're funny, but they're also very intimate at times, very heartbreaking at times. How did you think about that balance when you were doing these scenes together?
I mean, I think I didn't really think about, is this a funny scene or is this a hard scene? I think just went into each moment trying to react in the way that I thought he would react. Like I said, I've just felt like it was very easy, like, to act with Meg. There was something that just sort of seemed very natural. It didn't have to overthink anything or be like overly academic about it. We'd never like kind of be like, what is this scene about? And then having like a 45-minute meeting. We just kind of jump in. And then, so it felt very human, I suppose. And I felt like your character and how you sort of played your character was so kind of unafraid of coming towards like the complexities of Felix. And so that was stuff that I found, I suppose, in the shooting of it, I found very moving and felt sort of vulnerable in those scenes where it was kind of like, even when he in some way you've sort of brought out of him something that he's been hiding or containing for a long time, you would be unfazed by it and kind of would come towards it. And I felt like those were the scenes where it felt like there was something very special going on, maybe.
Well, I remember we shot a scene where Felix shares something very painful with her that he hasn't told her about his childhood. And I said, like, okay, well, I kind of thought, like, the classic, you'd be standing there and you'd be standing there. And we started to do it, and what you said that was so interesting was you're like, I'm a British person, like have my own sort of as feelingful as you are, and as creative, you know, there's like my response to this would be that I would be basically trying to get as far away from her as I could. And she, the more she comes towards me, the more I'd want to get away. So suddenly this thing that was going to be a scene that was two people on two sides of the room took us like through the entire apartment, into a corner, out, and it was more complicated to shoot, but it was so much more and it ended with you basically crouching in a corner, like being like, okay, I guess I can't get any further out than this unless I opened the window. And that was you had insights like that every day. And it's just such a gift to work with people who care that much and who want to lean into the specificity of it that much. It's amazing.
This is my last question. They have a screening to do. In the final episode, we see Jessica and Felix go through their ups and downs and ultimately find their happy ending. Do you envision their love story continuing beyond this season, or was this always the ending you imagined for them when you were developing the series?
Great question, Judd. Thank you for asking.
ChatGPT wrote that one.
ChatGPT is on the beat. And by the way, did you see that suddenly, guys, this is really scaring me, that did you see the New York Times article about how like 3/4 of letters to medical journals now are written by ChatGPT? I just think that we all need to watch it. And if anyone in here is sending ChatGPT letters to medical journals, I encourage you to, I like you, but I encourage you to stop. But you know, we've had conversations about it. I think we always thought about it as one season, and then I fell so deeply in love with Meg and Will that I was like, but I want to see them do everything. I want to see them go to Honolulu. I want to see them have twins. I want to see them start a horse farm. Like that's one of those things that you feel when you fall in love with characters. I feel it every time I end a movie. But ultimately, as we thought about it more and more, you're like, it ended, the goal was to make something that ultimately was a romantic comedy, and it ended with a wedding. And maybe sometime down the line there will be a moment where it feels like, let's, you know, this, like the Helen Mirren Prime Suspect, where you check in with her 12 years later and she's still an alcoholic. But I think right now, like those last images, there's a little like a little Easter egg in the end, which is like, you can, at the wedding, you can hear me cut, because it just stayed in, and then my sound mixer was like, left it, and I was like, hey, okay, because I was in the scene and I was calling cut from inside the scene, and so you can see me say it and call it, and it was such a beautiful day, and our whole cast was there, and you guys, we kept them apart so that they didn't see each other in their wedding outfits, which actually I think was like kind of weird, awkward thing for me to do, because you guys both had to come out and be like, you look amazing. Like, I don't know what I was expecting to have happen. Then you both be like, I'm leaving my partner. You look so incredible.
I think it made it feel like an event. And there was another scene where you did that, where we had a big fight, where it also just like upped the stakes a bit.
That one I understood more, but once I had really pushed so hard to make separate tents for your wedding dressing, I started to feel like I was like a kid playing with Barbies, and I'd taken it too far.
It worked though. Everybody getting me ready was like nervous.
No, they were like,
oh my
they
God,
were,
I'm
no,
so
they were all like,
excited.
no, literally, all the makeup artists were like, we can't wait for him to see you, and we were like, oh, now it's really too much.
If I wanted to go for a cigarette with Lou or something, it had to be like.
And then they finally did see each other, and then we used the first take of them coming out, and the whole cast who they hadn't seen all day cheering for them, and it was just a beautiful moment. And I think that's like, it's always great to pause on a beautiful moment.
Well, on that moment, thank you guys for